Jason Steak asks, is music culturally relevant anymore? I'm probably gonna have to say not as much as it used to, just as with the rise of different hobbies or video games or such as that, music has taken kind of more of a backdrop in the background, and I think it's the music that comes out today is not probably as influential as music in the 60s. Like, for example, I was in history class and we're talking about Egypt, and the different, like, art that is in different periods. And those different periods span thousands of years. So, my guess, if a historian is looking at music in the 1960s, they're probably, and throughout 1960s, or music throughout 1900s, and then the 2000s, they're probably going to highlight the 1960s. I don't think they're necessarily going to highlight. I think they would highlight early hip hop, maybe some trap. I don't think it's going to be as explored as the 60s, or probably as important, because I don't think it was as influential in terms of the history. So one comment is talking about how record labels are not really relevant anymore because the internet has given people freedom to listen to whatever they want, and they're not necessarily going to push, like, let's say a band like Nirvana or whatever. I substantially disagree with this because the majority of people that I've seen around my college, or people that I've known throughout school or not, they listen to hip hop, and that's been marketed for the past 20 years by labels. You know, nobody's going to be listening to Alan Holdsworth or like random artists that they find through the internet. They're going to be listening to like what's popular. And most college students, if you ask them like, oh, who do you want to be like, or who your influences are, you're going to probably name like a hip-hop artist, you know, somewhat. Someone in my class even said Kanye West is a genius, or like the majority of the students in my music class say, oh, like maybe become like a hip-hop producer or something. So there definitely is a push of certain genres. But definitely I do agree, to some extent the internet has kind of or made it more accessible for people to look at genres outside hip hop. So this comment is basically saying that even though, or that music is still culturally relevant because people listen to music, that is true if you define culturally relevant in a different way. I guess when I think of culturally relevant, I think of it's relevant politically, socially, and it kind of is the zeitgeist of like the youth, you know. I think rock was definitely more culturally relevant than maybe, let's say, jazz, because rock had the long hair, distorted guitar, the anti-war songs, whatnot. It was just such a massive movement. Also the hippie movement, acid rock, whatnot, all that. And today, I can't really name a lot of protest songs. Maybe This Is America. Then the other song I'm trying to, Richmond, North of Richmond. Those two, I think, are the only ones I can think of off the top of my mind that exploded, that kind of criticized America. But I don't think its music is really like the youth, you know. I don't think like boomer parents or parents that are millennial are really telling their kids, oh, you can't listen to hip hop. They just kind of hate it. Whereas with the boomer generation, their parents really like forbid it, you know.
Well, rap is not music, for one thing. I mean, it isn't music, you know, it's talking. That's what it says, rap. Rap means talking, it's not music. It's talking in meter, it's got rhyme, and it has meter. It has rhythm. It's not music. It's you know, it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I have no problem with it. It just isn't music, you know. And people who get to be great at rap are not great musicians. They're just great at rap, you know. It's not. There's no road from rapping into music. You know what I mean? You know, and music is something that you can get better and better and better at. I don't know if you can do that with rap. You know, I don't know whether it has that kind of space in it, or that kind of leads off into infinite numbers of possibilities. Music does.
I don't necessarily agree with Jerry Garcia's opinion. I love his music, but I think that sometimes hip hop can have melody within it. Um, but it begs the question, why such a rebellious generation like the baby boomer generation despises hip hop? And their music arguably was very culturally relevant with, you know, the Beatles, all that rock stuff with the long hair and the hippie movements. But yeah, it's I think it's an interesting topic. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I decided not to include some more Reddit comments because most of the thread was basically saying the same thing. But yeah, I hope you subscribe and like the video. Thank you.